Start. Good afternoon. Myself, Dr. Kemi Bura, Assistant Professor at BITS Institute of Physiotherapy, would like to welcome everyone in today's webinar, Pelvic Floor Assessment and Management. Pelvic floor is essentially a web of muscles that act kind of like a basket, holding up some pretty vital organs, the bladder, bowel, and uterus. Weak pelvic floor muscle can put strain on other muscles. To avoid this, they need attention in order to maintain the strength needed to the function properly. It's my privilege to introduce my teacher and today's presenter, Dr. Zarna Ronak Shah, PhD. She is currently working at SPP College of Physiotherapy, Ahmedabad. She is also holding a position of Vice President in Gujarat State Physiotherapy Council. She is having more than 11 years of teaching experience and had published more than 12 papers in national and international journals. Before starting the session, I like to share that we will be running a live question answer at the end of webinar. So please pop them in the message box if in your Google Meet during the presentation. And if you miss anything, don't worry, we will be sending around on-demand recording when it's available. Before starting with the session, I request all the participants to mute microphone in order to avoid disturbance. Now, without wasting much time, I like to request Zarna Madam to start with the session. Please, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much, Cami. And I hope it
Thank you,
is
ma'am.
all visible and audible properly, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, very good afternoon to all of you. And I think majority of you will be the UG students and PG students. So, as myself is Dr. Jharna Ronak Shah, and I am working in SBB College of Physiotherapy, which is attached with Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation Medical Education Trust. And you all will be knowing SVP Hospital name nowadays running in all the newspapers and news channels. So our college is attached to it. So today's topic, the objectives which I want that you all should fulfill after this session is you should be able to assess and evaluate pelvic floor muscles, which is the first and foremost objective of today's webinar. And I will focus more on this only. You should be able to diagnose PFM dysfunction. PFM I will use for pelvic floor muscle in this webinar. You should be able to list out impairments and functional limitations, and you should also be able to make goals according to the impairments and manage them. So these are my objectives for today, but as I have already told you, I will be focusing more on the first objective because I am targeting more of the UG students today. So life is all about a journey, and it's not where you end up, but it's how you have reached there, you have got there. So my journey in pelvic floor rehabilitation field started when I was doing internship in the year 2005, and there was a project or a study which I needed to submit, and my guide told me that you should do something on stress urinary incontinence, which was a very upcoming topic on those days, and very less literature was done in India at that time. And in Gujarat, I think it was an almost a nil study published on this topic. So I got interest. It was, though it was a very small study, I came to know that physiotherapists can do wonders in this field. We can do wonders in pelvic floor muscle rehabilitation. During my post-graduation in 2006, it was the first confix at Karamsad, and I have presented evidence-based seminar on stress urinary incontinence. Again, the interest increased in myself, though I was doing post-graduation in neurological condition. Then in PhD, I wanted to go for a pure adult neurorehabilitation study, but again, the destiny was something else. And the topic again came to me of efficacy of physiotherapy management in women with stress urinary incontinence. And I learned a lot, many things from my study, which was of 73 females. with stress urinary incontinence. And I have found lot many interesting points after that thesis. You will not believe, dear, but it was so difficult to get the subjects, even though our hospital, our college is attached with a very well recognized, reputed, and established hospital in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat. Though we were getting very less number of subjects because we were targeting the females and they did not want to come for the therapy. They were not interested. They were more interested for the household course. So such type of advertisement I had to give for the females so that they can come and participate. Even I had to take many public awareness seminars, and these are the list of seminars which I have taken to make the females aware about their pelvic floor muscles and the dysfunctions. So you all will be knowing the anatomy, and I will not be going in much detail, but pelvic floor muscles are made up of pubococcygeus, puborectalis, and iliococcygeus muscles. They are like a hammock, they are like a sling, starting from the pubic symphysis, ischial tuberosities, and coccyx. They are supporting the viscera. You can see here very well the red portion here. You can see that they are supporting bladder, the uterus, and the bowel, both. So, whom will you call the obedient? If I tell you something and you follow that, I will feel that you are obedient or you are under my control. In our medical language, we call voluntary control. Now, if I tell you, can you move your ears? Many of you will say, we cannot move the ears because they are not in our control. But it is the misconception. The muscles of ears are also in our control, and you might have seen many people moving the ears. We feel it funny. Muscles, it is under our voluntary control. But because we do not know how to move them, we feel that they are not in our control. And that's why many a times, if we teach the female or a patient to contract the perineal muscles, they are not aware how to move it.
Ma'am, sorry for interrupt you, but we are not able to see the presentation.
Okay, just a second. Huh?
Yes,
sorry, Cami.
Yes, ma'am. And all the participants are being requested to see on the Ronak Shah. Ma'am is sharing screen on Ronak Shah.
Is it now visible, Cami?
No, ma'am.
Now?
No,
Still
ma'am.
not?
Still not.
Okay, just a second. Now, Cami?
No, ma'am.
Actually, it is visible to others. That is the feedback I got.
Okay, fine, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can. Okay. I am sorry for the technical disturbance between. And if you are not able to see my screen, please text inside the chat box so that we can come to know that it is not visible. So I was talking that pelvic floor muscles are also under voluntary control and they are supplied by the pudendal nerve. And that's why it is very important for all of us to learn how we should contract the pelvic floor muscles. Now coming to the functions of pelvic floor muscles, they can support the pelvic viscera, they can control unwanted micturition and defecation, and they also help in sexual activities. If a question is asked in the PFD, that is for the UG students, the methods of pelvic floor muscles evaluation, there are mainly direct and indirect methods. And in the direct methods, we can go for per vaginal manual muscle testing and a perfect scheme, which I will be telling you. The pereniometer and electromyography, vaginal cones can be used for the diagnosis and therapeutic purpose both. Ultrasonography is a different thing which is costlier, used by the radiologist and not in our purview. The indirect methods are cuff test or stress test and the PET test. So there are few interesting points. The first is it is very important to teach the correct method. That means if you are not able to teach a proper method, the wrong method or wrong strain can worsen the condition. Cooperation of the patient is very much needed, and so we have to make the patient uh, comfortable, make the patient rely on us, and if the patient is so comfortable, then only you can go for further treatment or diagnosis. This is the position, lithotomy position, which is used mainly for pervaginal examination. If we do not have the leg rest, then on a simple couch in a crook lying, abducted hips will also abducted hip will also help us in doing the pervaginal examination. We have to insert a gloved index finger inside the vagina when the female is in crook lying position. Pervaginally, we can palpate few structures anterior, posterior, superior, and laterally. And what we have to tell is we have to give commands to the female first to comfortably relax the whole body and then inhale and exhale, and while exhalation only to contract the vaginal wall inside. The command should be given in a lay language to hold the physiotherapist finger inside the vagina. The commands can be squeeze my finger, lift my finger inside, or contract your vagina as if you are stopping the midstream urine, or contract the vagina as if you are stopping stool or passing of the gas. So these kind of commands can be given. And squeeze around our finger, that is the proper vaginal muscle contraction or proper perineal muscle contraction, pelvic floor muscle contraction. Somebody may ask what there for the male. Definitely we can go for PFM examination, but for the male, per rectal examination should be done the same way we are inserting finger inside the vagina, we have to insert the finger inside the rectum, but I will not be covering that. When we should not go for pervaginal examination is first is dyspareunia, when the patient is having pain while sexual intercourse, or when the patient feels pain inside the vagina, when the patient is virgin for some obvious reasons, and the most reason is when the female or the subject is not willing, not ready for that procedure, we should not do. Now, when we enter, we just go for pervaginal manual muscle testing, which is PVMMT. We can grade the perineal muscles, the pelvic floor muscles, the way we are grading for other skeletal muscles. 0 is no contraction, 1 is flicker. We feel a flicker contraction. 2 is very weak contraction. 3 is moderate contraction. Here, the moderate contraction is slight lift of examiner's finger with no resistance. 4 is very good contraction, which is elevation of the finger against light resistance. And 5 is strong contraction, which is elevation of examiner's finger against strong resistance. So here, this scale is validated by Brink et al. And has been used since long. The newer scale, which was developed by Laylock and Jerwood and was validated also in 2001, is the perfect scheme. Here, P stands for power, E for endurance, R for repetition, and F for fast. ECT is every contraction time, which is just to complete the mnemonics perfect scheme. Now, the power is what we have just seen on the MMT grading, okay? The E means endurance. That means the maximum hold time in seconds for maximum voluntary contraction. For how much time the subject is able to hold that contraction. R is repetition, means how many repetition the person can do of the maximum voluntary contraction Do not forget that we have to give 4-second rest time because these muscles are easily fatigable. F is the fast contractions. That means for 1 second, if a patient is contracting, the number of this kind of contractions, that means number of 1 second contractions of the pelvic floor muscles. So if somebody now asks the question, and if you get that the P is 4, that means the scale on MMT is 4, means good contraction. E is 10, means the endurance, that means the maximum hold time of the MVC is for 10 seconds. R is 6, means the MVC, the kind of MVC contractions, there can be 6 such contractions with 4 seconds of rest period in between. And F is there can be 10 number of fast contractions which are just of 1 second. So I hope you all have learned this two mainly, which is PVMMT and the manual muscle testing and the perfect scheme. Now coming to the indirect test. Cuff test, also known as stress test, is a medical professional observes leakage ranging from few drops to whole urine while the patient coughs or does activities which increased intra-abdominal pressure. This is a sign of leakage which is observed while there is a cough. Now, this is indirect test because when the patient is having weak pelvic floor muscles, there are chances of leakage of urine. So it is not a direct measurement of pelvic floor muscle contraction, and there can be many other reasons also behind this. But this is clinical diagnostic test mainly used for stress urinary incontinence. The paired test is we have to start without voiding. The female is having full bladder. Pre-weigh the perineal pad and ask to place the pad inside the panty. Ask patient to drink 500 milliliter of sodium-free liquid, which is a distilled water, within 15 minutes and sit or rest till the initial half an hour. So for the next 30 minutes, the subject will stroll around, ascend and descend stairs and perform the following exercises. 10 repetition of sit to stand, 10 repetition of coughing vigorously, running on the spot for 1 minute and trunk bending for 5 times. Even washing hands under cold running water for 1 minute. After the completion of the test, the pad is again weighed. Increase in the weight up to 1 gram is normal, which may be because of perineal discharge or sweating. More increase in the weight suggests urine leakage, which can be measured also. There are many different perinometers available to diagnose or to treat the pelvic floor muscle. This is the PFX pressure perinometer, which is named as Kegel exerciser, and it is having the arbitrary scale. You can see from 0 to 12. So this is the vaginal probe, okay? And this also comes with rectal probe for mainly the male patients. So as we insert inside the vagina, we have to ask again to contract the pelvic floor muscles. And we can see the rise in the here from 0 to 2, 4, 8. This way we can see the rise in the pressure, which is known as vaginal squeeze pressure, VSP. Now this tool was used in the study, in my PhD study, and I have correlated this with a digital examination, and I found it to be a good, reliable and valid tool. There are other costly instruments also available, Peritron perinometer and Lebri perinometer, which can also give you reading in number, in digits. So that will also be useful. These are the vaginal cones you can see in different shape and size. This is of a small size, medium size, and this is of the biggest size. Now you can insert them inside the vagina. This is the cone inside the vagina. Now just imagine if this cone would be of more size, it will be easier for the subject to hold the cone inside. So even in the rehabilitation, we first start with a bigger size and less weight, and we progress to smaller size and more weight. This is how the vaginal cone is inside the vagina, and the pelvic floor muscles around are squeezing it inside. This is therapeutically we can use. If we come to the pelvic floor muscle dysfunction, the first thing which comes in our mind is urinary incontinence. Now, why the weak pelvic floor muscles are responsible for urinary incontinence is when the pelvic floor muscles are strong enough, when there is increase in the intra-abdominal pressure and the circumstances are not favorable, then the pelvic floor muscles will contract strongly and it will close the external sphincters tightly so that there will not be any leakage. But when they are weak, they will not be able to close the bladder neck tightly, and there will be leakage of whole urine or some drops of the urine, which is a sign of stress urinary incontinence. So basically, when pelvic floor muscles are weak, the female or male uh, feels that there is leakage when they cough out, when they stress out, when they do some activities which increase the intra-abdominal pressure. So we have seen briefly the pelvic floor muscle assessment part. Now for treatment, there can be surgical and non-surgical treatment. We are not going for the surgical treatment. In non-surgical treatment, pharmacological and physiotherapy. In physiotherapy, we can divide the treatment into three main parts. First is pelvic floor muscle training, which I will be including in this webinar. The second is the electrical stimulation and biofeedback. And the third is behavioral training, bladder training, which is we are treating the patient psychologically or we are diverting the patient so that it helps in, it protects from incontinence or pelvic floor muscle dysfunction. So here I am targeting more of pelvic floor muscle training. So review says that pelvic floor muscle exercises are more beneficial than electrical stimulation in females with stress urinary incontinence. Electrical stimulation can be recommended in case of nerve injury. So when there is no pure nerve injury, the patient is not able to perform. That is because the patient is not aware. Many a times we see that on the first sitting, we feel that the power is 0 or 1 because the patient is not aware of how to contract. And with the skill, with the learning, patient can be able to perform good pelvic floor muscle contraction. So we can see sudden increase in the power, but actually it is not power increase, it is increase in the skill of the patient. Pelvic floor muscle training should be the first line treatment for stress incontinence as it has no serious adverse effect. However, the training needs proper instruction and close follow-up, which is very important. There has to be proper instructions. We have to first evaluate and see whether patient is doing it rightly or not. I again will repeat, wrong contraction, wrong strain will worsen the condition. Worsen the condition means worsen incontinence, worsen the prolapse, and worsen other pelvic floor dysfunctions. And we have to take follow-up also. Otherwise, we will not be able to know how much it is effective. So we have to, how to perform the pelvic floor exercise. We have to first locate the pelvic floor muscle. We have to first expose the part and we have to feel via per vaginal examination. Now, if female is not comfortable, you can even do it without exposure. You have to put your hand on the perineum and you have to ask to squeeze it inside. There should not be any other movement, that means any trick movements of the adductor muscles and the gluteus muscle. Squeeze the pelvic floor muscles as tightly possible for a few seconds. Relax because relaxation time should be given between two contractions. I again repeat that these muscles are easily fatigable and so relaxation time should be given and you have to again repeat the contraction. Kegel exercises are very commonly used terminology for pelvic floor muscle exercises. Again, we need proper explanation. Make the patient aware of her pelvic floor muscles. If you want to make the patient aware of the pelvic floor muscle, you can even use some videos, some diagrams, you can show on some model, and then even you can palpate. And if female is allowing you, inserting the finger inside the vagina will give more feedback, good proprioceptive input, and will improve the pelvic floor muscle contraction. Ask the female to contract as if she is stopping the midstream urine. Check out whether she is doing properly. Avoid trick movements. Ask to repeat again. Start with lying, progress in sitting, then standing, and then walking. So this way we can progress. These are few figures. This is traditionally used pelvic floor muscle exercises when we are pushing the ball between the two knees or we are pushing the pillow. This is a kind of irradiation technique from the strong adductor muscle. We are irradiating the power, the contraction to the perineal, weak perineal muscle. And this is the position in the second figure. The female is lifting the vagina and the perineum inside while exhalation. Again, it should be when there is exhalation. Elevator exercises are, you assume your pelvic floor as an elevator. So when you are completely relaxed, you are at a ground zero. Okay. Now, as you contract, you are at a first floor. You again leave it, come to the ground floor. Again to the first floor, more contraction to the second floor, down to the first floor. So gradually you are increasing the contraction and gradually you are decreasing the contraction. So you are not suddenly relaxing. This is the elevator exercises which are also used for pelvic floor muscle rehabilitation. What can be the result of these exercises? You can feel that there is increase in the per vaginal manual muscle testing grade on 0 to 5 scale. In perineometer, you will feel increase in the vaginal squeeze pressure. There will be improvement in the pelvic floor muscle performance and awareness. Very less chances of hypertrophy with a short protocol. Because if you are giving only treatment for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, it is not a magic. For hypertrophy to occur, it should be at least for more than 2 to 3 months. Then only the skeletal changes will occur inside the muscle. But what you are feeling that there is increase in the power is actually increase in the skill and increase in the motor learning of that patient. There are few interesting points about pelvic floor muscle exercises which I would always like to share with each and every subject suffering from this disease. Nobody can see. So I tell the females to practice at any place because nobody will be able to see. Even when I am talking to you or when I am walking, if I am skilled enough, I can do that. It is not at all costly. Just you need to learn it properly. You can do it anywhere. In books, it is written that when you are waiting at a traffic signal, you are in a rickshaw, you are in a car, you are in a bus, you can start it. Very less time consuming, but very difficult to do it at the first time. Why? Because people are not aware about it. There are many other exercises, tummy tuck-in exercises of the transverse abdominis, because studies also suggest that the pelvic floor muscles are attached with the core muscles as well. So when we are doing the transverse abdominis contraction, in a way we are strengthening the perineal muscles also. So tummy tuck-in, core muscle exercises, pelvic motion exercises, clockwise and anti-clockwise exercises, and the adductor strengthening, which is already shown in the figure when there is a pillow between the two knees and we press it. That is isometric contraction of the adductors, and we are eradicating to the weak pelvic floor muscles. I can't see the radio waves, but I can watch the television. I can't see the gravity, but I can walk down the stairs. I can't see the God, but He answers my prayers. And that's why I also feel that there are very interesting points in pelvic floor muscles. The pelvic floor dysfunctions are highly ignored, they are highly underreported because females feel shy. The prevalence is very high, but they will not come to the doctor, they will not come to the medical professional for their pelvic floor muscle dysfunction, and it is untold. So, our role is to first educate them. We have to tell them that though you can't feel them, but they are there, and you can definitely treat them, you can definitely contract, and definitely you can overcome with your problems. Many a times if early intervention we start strengthening the pelvic floor muscles, we can avoid the surgeries also. So, in the last, I would like to thank BEATS Physiotherapy College and the whole team and Dr. Kemi for inviting me for the session, and all the audience for being so patient with the session. And thank you so much. Over to you, Kemi. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Kemi, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. We will
Thank
go
you so
ahead
much.
and take some time. We will
Okay,
go
yeah.
ahead and take some time for question answers now.
Yeah,
All the
sure, sure.
participants, yeah, all the participants have been requested. If you have any doubt, you can pop them in message so that we'll have a discussion. Or you can ask directly to ma'am.
Yes, they can ask me.
Ma'am, there is one question by Jaya Rehab. Which
Hmm.
lubricant we need to use for digital MMT?
We do not use any kind of lubricant. It is a gloved index finger, but if it is very painful or we feel the resistance, then sometimes we use the jelly which we use for the ultrasonography, but as such we do not use any lubricant.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We'll wait for 2 more minutes. If somebody is having any doubts, you feel free to ask.
Yeah, sure.
Ma'am, it looks like we have covered all of our questions. Yes, one
Okay.
question came by ma'am. Uh, Ma'am, can you
Okay.
explain why adductor strengthening is required?
Yeah, I think Snigdha madam has texted
Yes,
that
yes.
question, right? So I am very
Yes,
glad
ma'am.
that Snigdha madam has attended the session. I am really thankful and grateful to madam. And actually, adductor strengthening is in our traditional physiotherapy. We were using it as a irradiation therapy, what we are using for proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. And again, there are studies which say that when we start doing more of the adductor strengthening exercises, there can be irradiation. Okay, but many of the studies are opposing also that. But still now in our the ancient physiotherapy, we were using it.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question is there by Hiral. Can you explain pelvic motion exercise, please?
Pelvic motion exercises are when you move your pelvic in clockwise or anti-clockwise. You go for anterior posterior tilting, and you also go for lateral movement of the pelvic. Okay, so this is the active movement what we do for pelvis. Okay, at that time also the perineal muscles are recruiting. I hope they understand that when we do anterior, posterior, and the lateral tilts of the pelvic, uh, there will be recruitment.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question is there by Jaya Rehab. How can we help those patients who are sexually active?
In a way, for pelvic floor muscles.
Yes, ma'am.
There is no as such difference. Mainly when the female is not sexually active, the perineal muscles will not be so lax, and as such, there is no difference between them. The pelvic floor muscle functions are not varying with sexually active or inactive females.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question is there from Dhanvi Mehta. Is it
Okay.
advisable for pregnant women or are there any contraindications?
For pregnant women, definitely many literature are supporting that pelvic floor muscle exercises will help in pushing the baby during the labor. It will further help, and if you strengthen it antenatally, then the dysfunctions postnatally will be very less. But again, I will repeat that if a therapist and the female are comfortable, and if the therapist is skilled enough, then only we have to go for pelvic floor muscle contraction. Otherwise, definitely PFM contraction and training should be given to the pregnant female. There is no harm in that.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, another question is there from Jigna Chaudhary. Does
Mhm.
IFT is useful in strengthening of PFM?
IFT is definitely useful, and there are reviews also, but we do not use it. And as I have told you that once the there is no frank actual damage to the pudendal nerve, when there is no peripheral nerve injury to the pelvic floor muscles, the nerve is intact. We should first go for voluntary contractions only rather than going for IFT. These are the reviews which are supporting, and we also feel that we should first start with that. But
Okay, ma'am.
definitely, there are evidences that it helps in strengthening.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am,
Hmm.
another question is there from Snigdha madam. Do you
Yes.
use biofeedback?
For madam, I would like to say that madam, we actually do not use
Okay.
this biofeedback in our department. The females, which, as I have already told, that very less number of females come to us. So this is what I am presenting is the whole what I have felt during my PhD study. But biofeedback in the form of perineometer, which I have shown, that we use for the pelvic floor muscle rehabilitation. But in our department, we do not use it.
Ma'am, another question by Supriya Vinod. Is menopause predisposing to urinary incontinence apart from episiotomy?
Yeah, sure. Menopause, see, there are n number of reasons. When the female is having menopause, already the female is aging. So already you all can make out that the female might have given birth to one child, or there can be so many other issues also during her fertile time. Okay. And with aging also, the perineal muscles get weak. So after menopause and even during menopause, the pelvic floor muscles are prone to be weak, and there are high chances of urinary incontinence.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, another question is there by Priyanka Makwana. Can we do this exercise during active menstrual cycle? Will it
Yes,
reduce pain?
regarding pain, I cannot say because even I have not read any literature for relief in the pain, because the pain which you are getting in menstrual cycle is actually the different thing than the pelvic floor muscle dysfunction. But you can perform these exercises. There is no harm in that.
Okay. Ma'am, another question by Princey. What can be
Mhm.
done if urinary incontinence occur at the age of 4 years in a child?
4 years. Okay,
Yes,
at that
ma'am.
time we have to first evaluate properly, because a 4 year child, sometimes what happens is a small child, their perineal muscles are not yet developed only. Okay, we also know that
Okay.
at the time of puberty, our reproductive organs, our perineal muscles, and there are few changes inside the body. So at 4 years of age, we cannot term it as incontinence. It can be nocturnal incontinence, bedtime wetting, but it cannot be a pure pelvic floor muscle weakness. But if we train the child to do this kind of exercises, this might help. But as such, there are no evidences for that. So as I have told that the perineal muscles are not yet developed. It is very difficult to say.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, another question by Akruti. Will PFM exercise help in coccydyna?
See, evidences say that PFM muscle exercises helps in back pain. It also helps in coccydynia because again we have to find out the reason. If coccydynia is mechanical because of the mechanical issues, the postural problems and all, definitely PFM along with the core muscles will definitely help in treating the coccydynia.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, another question by Mahima Rawal.
Okay,
How can we check PFM if patient is
okay.
not allowing to insert finger inside vagina?
Okay, the first thing is the patient should be very much comfortable and patient's consent is very much needed before you go for pervaginal examination. If female is not ready, not allowing you, then you should not go for pervaginal examination. But sometimes if you are skilled enough, you can observe also. If you expose the part, you can observe the contraction of the perineal muscle. You can observe that the vagina and the perineal structures are getting contracted and they are lifted properly. So if you are skilled enough, you can observe and do, but per vaginal manual testing or perfect scheme cannot be done.
Ma'am, another question by Pankti Chauhan. How do we
Okay.
progress in strengthening of pelvic floor muscle? Can we use
Huh.
quadruped position or other various positions for pelvic floor exercise?
Okay, this is a very good question. And as I have told that we start with lying position. Okay, crook lying position is the first position. We ask patient to assume that position, and we start with pelvic floor muscle contraction. Now, as we know that now the female is getting the skill or the pelvic floor muscles are getting stronger, we can change the position of sitting, even in quadruped, even in standing, and in the last stage, even while walking. Okay, sometimes we insert the vaginal cone and we ask the female to walk, and we should say that the cone should not come out. So you have to hold the cone inside and you have to walk. So it is a kind of dual tasking, and the strength will also improve. The performance will improve.
Ma'am, another question by Jaya Rehab. What are the
Okay.
effective exercise for male stress urinary incontinence?
See, the way we are asking female to contract the pelvic floor muscles, we can ask the male patients also. The way we are asking the females, we can ask them also to contract. When the female is contracting, we are more focusing on the vaginal lift and vaginal muscles. Here we have to focus on the rectal. Okay, so if we are inserting the finger, and even the rectal probes are available with perineometer, so we can insert that and we can go for perineometry. We can go for, there are cones available for the rectum also, and even we can go for on observation, we can feel that the muscles are contracting properly, and we can progress the way we are progressing in females.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll
Okay.
wait for 2 more minutes. If some more questions are there, we'll cover it.
Okay,
We'll
thank you.
wait for. Ma'am, I think it's all. We covered almost all our questions.
Yes, yes.
So on behalf of entire BITS team, ma'am, I like to thank you. In spite of your busy schedule and your COVID-19 duty in VS Hospital, you grabbed some time for us and share your valuable knowledge with us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you
We
so much, everyone.
BITS Institute of Physiotherapy and its all the team members really appreciate you of being here. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, dear Cami. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. I extend my thanks to our Honorable Founder, President and Chairman, Sri Jagdish Bhai Patel, sir, our Joint Managing Trustee, Srimati Kamalbin J. Patel, madam, for their constant guidance. I also like to thank our Chairman, Sri Dhruv Patel J. sir, for allowing us to organize this event. I like to thank our director, Shri Sudhir Patel sir, for constant motivation and their support. I like to extend my thanks to our principal, Dr. Mehul Jadhav sir, and vice principal, Dr. Safraz Nawaz sir, who constantly gave us lot of encouragement. Your encouragement always help us to carry out important events like this. My sincere thanks to Avni Vasant Madam, HOD of Computer Department, for her constant ICT support, and our respected Gade Dada for wonderful graphic design. I thank all the faculty members and volunteers without whose helping hands this event would not be possible. Last but not least, I thank all the participants for showing their interest in the program. I once again thank everyone for making this program successful. BITS Institute of Physiotherapy will look forward to see you next time. Thank you and have a safe. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.